Mother. Who's shooting the boy?
Fair and Sadai, you sent her.
That boy must not leave this city.
Leave. I have nothing to say to you.
I have a question for you. After you were stilled, when you thought about ending it,
Killing myself?
I read the Tower records. There have only been 2 women in history who were cut off. Who didn't? Then they...
No, I didn't. I know that protecting Rand, guiding him, that is the only thing that matters. More than me, more than you, more than anything. What isn't she telling me?
You have to trust someone. You can't do this by yourself. And if it's not going to be me, it might at least be her.
Close the waygate, Moiraine. Now. Close the waygate.
No.
I don't want to force you. We failed, Moiraine. You swore to obey me, bound by the One Power. An unbreakable oath. Close it!
If you have ever loved me, don't
I
do this.
command you to close the waygate.
Lanfear.
No, I'm not going to touch her. None of you want my help.
You grow more like Luz. Lucky for you, a broken Amyrlin is more useful to me than a dead one.
Siuan didn't just react to threats, she anticipated them, using her network to stay 10 steps ahead of the Shadow, the White Tower's factions, and even fate itself. Her fall from the Amyrlin Seat only sharpened her effectiveness. Stripped of power, gentled, and forced to flee Tar Valon, Siuan lost her public platform, but gained the ultimate cover, invisibility. No one expected the deposed, gentled former Amyrlin to be a threat. They saw her as a broken woman, not a mastermind still pulling strings. From her hiding place in Salidar, she reactivated her network with a few coded messages, using old contacts to feed intelligence to Egwene, Mat, and Rand. She guided Egwene's rise to Amyrlin, warning her of traitors within the rebel Aes Sedai ranks. She passed Mat critical information about the Seanchan's battle tactics, helping him lead the Band of the Red Hand to victory. She even used her spies to sabotage the White Tower's efforts to capture Rand, ensuring he had time to master his powers. Siuan's defeat was a masterstroke. She traded a crown for freedom to operate without scrutiny, and the world never realized the strings were still in her hands. What makes Siuan's legacy as a spy master so extraordinary is its scope and secrecy. Unlike Moiraine, who operated in the semi-open, Siuan's work was so hidden that even her closest allies didn't know the full extent of her network. She never took credit, never left a trail, never let anyone see the hand that guided them. When Rand finally faced the Dark One, when Egwene united the White Tower, when the Westlands stood together in the last battle, Siuan's intelligence, her alliances, and her foresight were woven into every victory. She didn't wield the One Power to turn the tide, she wielded information, trust, and patience. We remember Siuan Sanche as a fiery Amyrlin, a martyr for the Dragon Reborn's cause. But that's just the story the world was meant to see. The real Siuan was a ghost in the machine, a spy master whose network spanned nations, whose foresight shaped prophecies, and whose legacy outlasted her own life. She proved that power doesn't need to be loud, or flashy, or tied to the One Power. It just needs to be unseen, unyielding, and guided by a mind sharper than any sword. So, forget the Siuan you thought you knew. The Amyrlin was a role one she played brilliantly, but the Spy Master was her truth. She built an empire of shadows, and in doing so, she helped save the world. Her legacy isn't in the stole she wore or the crown she lost. It's in the secrets she guarded, the alliances she forged, and the events she shaped from the dark. Siuan Sanche wasn't just a leader. She was the greatest spy master the Westlands ever knew, and the world will never fully grasp how much it owes to her invisible hand. Everyone knows Siuan Sanche, the deposed Amyrlin, but what if her true genius bloomed after her fall? We remember her as the firebrand leader who dared to declare Rand all Thor the Dragon Reborn, as the woman who clashed with the White Tower's rigid factions and paid the ultimate price, gentled, stripped of her stole, and left for dead. Her Amyrlin tenure, though bold, is often dismissed as a brief, turbulent chapter, a valiant but flawed attempt to steer the tower toward the light amid rising darkness. But that narrative misses the forest for the trees. Siuan's time on the Amyrlin's chair was never her magnum opus. It was a necessary prelude, a stage where she gathered power, planted seeds, and positioned herself to operate without the tower's suffocating constraints. Her most impactful, most brilliant strategic work happened not in gilded halls, but in the Shadows Off book, uncelebrated, and so meticulously hidden that even her closest allies barely grasped its scope. Siuan Sanche was never just a deposed Amyrlin. She was the White Tower's greatest spy master, and her legacy was forged not in power, but in invisibility. To understand why her post-Amyrlin work mattered so deeply, we must first revisit her tenure on the chair and its perceived limitations. When Siuan rose to Amyrlin at a staggeringly young age, she inherited a tower divided. The Ajas bickered over influence. The Red Aja seethed at her tolerance of male channelers, and the tower as a whole clung to tradition while the Dark One's shadow spread. Her boldest move, publicly acknowledging Rand as the Dragon Reborn, was also her most divisive. It rallied loyalists to her side, yes, but it painted a target on her back. She lacked the time to fully unite the tower. Factionalism gnawed at her authority, and her hands were tied by the Amyrlin's obligations, ceremonies, councils, and the endless politics that left little room for the quiet, ruthless work of intelligence gathering. Her deposition was swift and brutal. A coup led by the Red Aja, who accused her of treason, gentled her to strip her of the One Power, and left her to die in a cell. To the world, it looked like the end of Siuan Sanche, tragic casualty of the tower's infighting. But to Siuan,